Catherine and William, the Prince and Princess of Wales, have been included on the Time 100 Philanthropists list. In contrast, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, despite their continuous efforts to present themselves as contributors to society, have not appeared on the list at all. Frankly, I doubt they were seriously considered, even though Meghan Markle recently attended the Time 100 summit a few weeks ago. When it comes to real influence and power, the world is drawn to the monarchy. Harry and Meghan, however, are often ridiculed and not seen as the people whom the world turns to for solving major problems. Instead, many hope they fade away and accept that their achievements amount mostly to being glorified influencers. That is the level Meghan Markle operates at, though she struggles to fully accept it. There is also a somewhat troubling aspect to the Time 100 list that suggests part of Harry and Meghan's limited success in the United States stems from a widespread misunderstanding of the British monarchy. I want to highlight a particular detail from Catherine and William's synopsis because it could pose a risk to the future of the United Kingdom, especially if they choose to follow that path. We'll explore this in detail today. If this is your first time at Viral Vibe, hello. I'm Tony, providing in-depth royal commentary. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, I'd love to have you back. Also, thank you so much for the overwhelmingly positive feedback on our new setup here. It's grand and glorious, even if not exactly what I originally envisioned for this lens, it turned out perfect. Regarding other royals, the Chelsea Flower Show is ongoing, and Princess Eugenie appeared with her sister Beatrice, though Eugenie was more publicly visible while Beatrice was mostly seen in photos. Princess Eugenie recently shared a heartfelt piece in The Telegraph about her scoliosis, the surgery she underwent, and how it's affected her back. She also met others with similar experiences. It's a good reminder that despite all their wealth and status, royals face health struggles just like everyone else. I especially admire that for her wedding, Eugenie chose a dress that revealed her back and scars, which I find inspiring for many women. Additionally, Catherine and William hosted a garden party at Buckingham Palace, joined by Princess Eugenie, Zara Tindall, the Gloucesters, and the Edinburgh family. It's wonderful to see a cousin garden party again. Last year William hosted one during Catherine's cancer treatment. Catherine has shown many new looks this year, which could be an interesting story for our Royal Fashion News channel if you want to check that out. As for Harry and Meghan, their absence from the Time 100 Philanthropist list signals that many people still don't take their charitable efforts seriously, though I put philanthropy in quotes because their foundation seems to reflect more hubris than substance. Let's examine the current activities of the Archewell Foundation. Are they truly making an impact? Their mission seems to be show up and do good, which is admirable but also a common aspiration that many don't always fulfill. Recently, Archewell highlighted a report by Accountable Tech that studied gaps in Instagram's teen safety protections, especially around sensitive content. While the report sheds light on important issues, Harry and Meghan's approach seems largely about trying to censor critics like me rather than creating meaningful change. This self-serving angle is concerning. Regarding social media, my simple advice is, if you don't want your child on social media, don't let them use it. That straightforward solution is often ignored by Harry and Meghan, which I find frustrating. We also missed acknowledging Mother's Day, including for mothers who have lost children. Meghan didn't post anything on social media to recognize this, which reflects a disconnect between her public presence and genuine empathy. Furthermore, the Archewell Foundation faced controversy for funding an organization linked to defamatory remarks about Israel. When confronted, they claimed ignorance and withdrew support, which raises questions about their due diligence. Their official statements emphasize inclusion and opposition to hate speech, yet Meghan accused the royal family of racism, only for Harry to try and walk back those claims later. They blame the British press, but they share responsibility for the discord. Their foundation's stated values of humanity, love, peace, and equality often seem contradicted by their own actions. Meghan even goes around calling herself Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex when gifting friends, a clear attempt to wield royal status inappropriately. So, naturally, Harry and Meghan did not make the Time 100 Philanthropists list, but Catherine and William definitely did. Here's the reasoning given. philanthropy is hardly new for British royalty. For example, King George II's first recorded royal patronage was helping to establish an antiquarian society focused on art and architecture conservation back in the 18th century. However, the modern royal agenda appears to have shifted priorities. Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, are less focused on cultural preservation and more engaged with social issues like homelessness and rural mental health through their royal foundation. They also spotlight innovative climate change solutions via the Earthshot Prize, an environmental award founded by Prince William in 2020. Their approach emphasizes impact philanthropy, collaboration, convening, and helping people. Prince William told the BBC that a key part of their strategy is aligning social priorities with sound business practices and building corporate alliances to extend their reach. For example, Catherine led the Shaping Us campaign, which supports well-being initiatives for children aged 5 and under. Last spring, she convened a business task force including companies like the Lego Group and the impact consulting firm Deloitte. This group published a report concluding that investing in early childhood programs could add £45.5 billion annually to the UK economy. This prompted task force members to commit millions towards such initiatives. Notably, Times owners and co-chairs Mark and Lynn Benioff support the Royal Foundation. Now, I want to check something here. It's a bit amusing that it's not the CEO woman involved, but that's a side note. This is partly why Catherine and William are on the list. Of course, Meghan would be upset by this because she wants a glossy feature in Time magazine, something they achieved a few years ago by branding themselves as Time100 Philanthropists. Meghan's identity revolves around being a founder, philanthropist, entrepreneur, or investor. She's essentially a dolphin investor, if you will. However, I think this portrayal is a weak reflection of what Catherine and William actually do, and there's something here that strikes me as particularly problematic. I don't believe this was approved by Catherine and William, but the statement that they are less concerned with cultural preservation is really troubling. Guys, the whole reason royals exist is to preserve culture. You cannot have royalty without cultural preservation, that's fundamental. This line reveals a misunderstanding of what the British royals actually represent, and I think it shows a lack of respect for King Charles, who through the King's Trust has been actively evolving the royal agenda for decades. To suggest Catherine and William are less invested in cultural preservation isn't a good message because social issues can change or shift, but culture is constant and essential. The British monarchy represents British culture itself, they are an extension of it. So when I read that line, I thought, Time magazine just doesn't get it. Most foreign media outlets don't understand this. This attitude connects to a broader disdain some hold for Western civilization, driven by the idea that Westerners were colonizers and started wars, which paints Western history negatively. But historically, every culture and empire has its issues. Some cultures don't even have written records of their histories, so we don't fully know their pasts, unlike the West, which has extensive written documentation going back thousands of years. Written records, like those from ancient Egypt dating back to BC 3000 or so, are crucial. This history matters to Catherine and William. I worry William isn't a fan of pomp and ceremony, probably not his favorite aspect of royal life, but those traditions are what make the royals different from celebrities. For example, Tom Cruise can gather huge crowds but can't stand on Buckingham Palace's balcony or ride in the gold state carriage down the mall. Royals have those unique cultural roles, so preserving these traditions is vital. This balance between culture and social issues has been a major talking point in the UK recently. There's ongoing debate about immigration's impact on British culture. Some see it as positive, others as eroding their cultural identity within their own country. These discussions have been simmering across Europe for years but are now more mainstream. While immigration has benefits, people don't want to lose their cultural identity in the process. So for Time magazine to imply that Catherine and William care more about social issues than preserving culture is a huge misstep. Maybe that reflects Time's priorities, but it doesn't align with what Catherine and William should or do prioritize. William's efforts to support farmers in Cornwall, for example, reflect preserving an important piece of British cultural heritage. Farming has been integral to the UK for centuries and must be protected from outside takeover. Time magazine's suggestion that the royals focus less on cultural preservation almost seems like a slight against the UK's heritage. After all, their titles as Prince and Princess of Wales depend on this cultural legacy. It's incredibly important. So while it's a great honor for them to be recognized, and surely it frustrates Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, I wish the accomplishments of Catherine and William had been represented more accurately. Comparing this to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, I think Catherine and William's organization has excelled in one critical area: building strong foundational programs. The Royal Foundation has not demanded blind acceptance from the world but worked steadily to make meaningful impact. They say the organization was built gradually. Overnight success isn't how it happened. As their interests expanded and new opportunities arose, the organization grew organically. Because of this steady growth and consistent good work over more than a decade, it is now recognized as an authority on certain issues. In contrast, Harry and Meghan have done things the opposite way around. They created their organization first and then demanded to be seen as experts on specific topics. Take Meghan's entrepreneurial efforts, for example. She's just starting out but already acts like an expert, admitting to mistakes yet expecting to be taken seriously in business. Her podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, failed in part because she tries to position herself as an expert without having built the necessary experience or credibility. Meanwhile, Catherine and William have been smart about slowly building their credentials over time. That's the approach that works. It's disappointing that Time magazine downplayed the cultural preservation aspect, which is such a core responsibility for the royals. Representing British culture is their fundamental duty. They might approach their royal roles differently, but they cannot forget this vital part of their work. The United Kingdom, comprising England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, embodies a cultural heritage spanning over 2,000 years, and about 1,000 years since William the Conqueror established the modern royal lineage. This rich legacy is what makes royalty so fascinating. Time magazine's dismissal of this shows how American media often misunderstands the British monarchy. There's a hope that the royals will adopt a more liberal, Americanized stance, but that's not their role. Their duty is to represent their country wholeheartedly, without reservation. To be British, in my opinion, is something magnificent. Harry's rejection of this heritage, including adopting an American accent, reveals how tenuous his and Meghan's connection is to the monarchy. They'll do anything for a bit of attention or support. As a result, their organization is struggling because they rushed into being experts before building a solid foundation. On the other hand, Catherine and William have put in the hard work over time and are now seeing the benefits. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think about my take. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you again soon. Bye.